Okie dokie. So Straw Poll says this is the series people want to see, so we're going to do this one. Because I don't care. And I've seen these games. So let's talk about the compositions. First off, Double AD, obviously. I'm not the biggest fan of Draven Corki in this mixture, just because usually Double AD is done with a more poke in mind. And Draven doesn't have great poke or siege. But I think Cloud9 just wanted to throw TL off their game a little bit, see if they could really snowball this one. But it's a really snowbally composition. If you don't get kills with Draven early, as we'll see, it does become pretty problematic. Also, full AD composition, unless you go Luden's Echo on Corki, which is probably the better build in this game. I don't believe he does that. And then over here, a lot of crowd control, a lot of tankiness, and then Piglet, who is going to be on Lucian, who obviously scales very well.
Here of Team Liquid, Sion ain't going to get pushed out of lane anytime soon. Janna shielding Piglet so he can stay safe, and he also can stay on the back line. So some offensive here as we come into the series. Did look in lane swaps.
Okay. So you have two scaling tank junglers here. It's probably going to be, this should be a lot of farming pre-6. I mean, I understand why C9 does this. It's a way to demoralize your opponents and get a quick win, and they've got really good mental fortitude in the best of 5, so it doesn't really matter if they lose the first game. Whereas, like, having an overwhelming victory with Draven can put your opponents on tilt. Okay, so lane swap coming in. Don't want to get bullied early on. Just want to farm up on Draven, try and maximize those stacks, and then make a play sometime later on. But they're going to get found out by Piglet Nick Special and delay invade here for the lane swap. Okay, so Meteos is going to respond by going to enemy blue immediately. So you can see if maybe they can 3-buff them because they do have Draven and Janna up on the top side. So, no surprise, except for Quas didn't actually die early on, so he is not going to have level 2 coming into lane because they tried to... That kind of messed up, actually, for TL. They're going to get 3-buffed, which isn't the end of the world, obviously, but you don't want... I mean, the fact that Sion is now behind is really problematic because this Hecarim is not really going to be punished in the laning phase as hard as he could be. And especially because Meteos has control over this bottom side at the moment because of the start that he went with blue. And he just took the Scuttle Crab. So this is really a good situation for Hecarim to be in early on. Because C9 does have that opportunity to split push with him. And there's not a whole lot that they're going to be able to do to stop that if he really gets rolling. So he's going after taking Crab. So he has a ward here. If we look at the wards that were placed, Basically, this is really smart. You drop a ward here so you can see if they're coming for Grump, and you can see if they enter. So if they path through here with Sejuani, because if you path this way and hop over the wall for a gank, this sees that, and it sees this pathing, and it sees this pathing right here coming in. So Hecarim is super safe just to push up the lane at this point as Meteos goes to blue. So this is a really nice pathing from Meteos and a good reaction based on what he's seen. But that ward's going to die because it was just a trinket ward. So now Hecarim has to play a little bit more cautiously because he's not... The gank he's not going to be able to see is the one if the Arctic Assault comes over the wall, right? So what Hecarim wants to do now is ward this brush, probably, just to make sure that that gank isn't possible. And that's what he's going to do. So there's some good tips for warding guys and keeping safe if you're in this 1v1 lane based on your jungler's pathing. That was really, really well done by Cloud9. So they're playing very safe. So this is a really strong start to this game. Meteos is gonna get the flash to interrupt the E. So the setup right here, Meteos is going to come into the lane, and Dominate is crossing over in the jungle, and he's actually already anticipating a gank right here. So Dominate had pretty good instincts about that one, because he was already walking up before Gragas actually showed in the mid lane. So with the position of the lane, though, sometimes, you know, if you don't think there are going to be wards, coming up here and then walking around, because if you just walk over here, it takes only a couple seconds more to walk to loop this way, but in case your mid laner gets ganked, sometimes you can path that way and set up a counter gank right there. It's really good trading by Piglet. Knowing that all cooldowns from Cloud9 were not available, so he's able to trade onto Sneaky, which is much more valuable, obviously, because Sneaky has no pots right now. So Piglet's doing a really good job of winning this lane. He's going to force that back pretty soon. And yeah, right now, actually. And he didn't even have to use his pot yet. So this is a really, really good situation for Team Liquid. And they delay the back. That's huge. So now C9's in a really dangerous position in the laning phase where they could lose quite a bit. Okay, well, this is a dive. So this is all set up by Piglet's good trading right here, because C9 is getting greedy and they don't want to lose a lot of minions, because C9 is incredibly dependent on Draven in this composition and Draven getting an advantage. Because they're going to be able to lock down, they have such a big tank line that if the damage out from Corki and Draven, it's going to be really, really hard for them to actually win team fights in the late game with how much crowd control and tankiness is on the enemy team. So this setup right here, Hai doesn't have flash anymore, so he can't play as aggressively in lane, which is going to allow Phoenix to go ahead and hit this. And there's another attempted a recall right here from Draven, but it's not actually going to go through due to all this pressure on the top side. So Team Liquid just plays the map right around those trades very well in order to set this dive up. And Meteos isn't having a good read on this situation at the moment, so he's going to show up late. And Phoenix has a very, very easy roam through the jungle.
So far ahead of time. Sneaky! He gets out of the ultimate. He thought he was going for the brush, and Dominate just huffs it over his shoulder. Whiff, and now what? They only get elimination on that one for first blood.
First blood pretty big there for Team Liquid, though. Up until this point.
So yeah, that's the only thing Hai can really do is push the turret right now, and Meteos didn't have a good read on that situation. Not sure if that was an error in terms of comms, but you have to make sure that your jungler is able to help in that situation, because they burned a lot of summoners right there, and there was no counterplay whatsoever. So
Very flashable. The wind up on that thing.
Also adrenaline rush. He had all the keys. Everything to get out of it. Back and forth in this wet noodle fight here in what is the top lane, but we're in the bottom side of the map. 8 minutes in, 70 to 63. So Quas has done a very nice job of keeping himself relevant in that lane.
Because Minos was chasing around Dominate right there, a very delayed level 6. He actually just got that by taking the small golem by the blue.
So he's not going to be able to get the blue either. So Meteos really didn't get anything out of that situation. They only got some chip damage on the mid turret. And that is a really weird roam, by the way. So you can see the pings coming down. So this is a good reaction. As soon as they go back to base after getting those kills, Morgana shows on a ward, on a pink ward right here. And looks like he doesn't know that he showed either, because he didn't actually walk directly through that brush. And so he's hanging out this way. They know where Meteos is because he actually was just set up at the blue. So this is a really risky gank, because right now the information that they have, if you're Cloud9, is they don't know that Morgana's been seen, but they know where the jungler is, and Meteos can't help right here. Meanwhile, 2 people are missing. The assumption is that Lucian's going to go back into lane, right? And they're not expecting this, but you can see there was a ward right there where they get seen, but Lemonation is already positioned really, really far forward. Hai doesn't have flash either, so he's not really going to be able to help with this. Meteos also doesn't have flash. So this actually is a super dangerous play for Lemonation to make. But the assumption is that there's not going to be an 80 carry there to help burst down, especially one that just picked up a pretty quick BF sword.
Very peculiar move right there. It seemed like Lemon was trying to do a bit of a rotation in to get pressure on the mid turret, but they didn't keep track actually. Well,
so even though TL had a ward that saw that coming in, Lemonation played too far up, because by the time that they actually saw them in the ward, Lissandra's gap closer was able to clear the black shield with Q and then gap close on it. So Lemonation just couldn't get out fast enough from that situation. You have to be really careful about those wards and how fast people can come back on you, especially because Lemonation only had he doesn't have Mobies yet. If he had Mobies, maybe he could make that play a little better and get out of that gank. But this is a really bad situation also, because now Sneaky was just denied even further because Lemonation died, and then these two just walked up and pushed in the tower and harassed Sneaky a bunch. So this is going extremely poorly for Cloud9, and you can really see how good teams will punish even things like unfavorable trades like that and start setting up plays based around that. So good communication from TL so far this game. So, I mean, basically Cloud9 has to bank right now on the fact that this Draven's going to get some sort of big kill and be able to cash in on the stacks, because he's behind in CS. Now Piglet has 2 kills. He's so weak compared to this Lucian. And even on Draven, it would be extremely difficult for him to win any kind of fight where the solution is involved. Cloud9 did get a lot of damage down onto the mid thanks to the roams, though, and the fact they have this Sheen on Corki first. So that's about the most positive thing that could be going. Right here. right here, I think you push this up and you try and bounce the wave because you need to keep this Lucian down. They're a little bit worried about Dragon being taken at the moment, but they basically just gave Sneaky a lane freeze for free. And this is also going to free up Lemonation to start roaming more. So C9's able to get a turret right now. They can't defend it in time. And if C9 had tried for the Dragon right there, they also really wouldn't have been able to get there before the Dragon was taken. So I think the safest play here is just to push this down. And C9 also, they took out the tower, but they didn't actually get any control over the Dragon Pit whatsoever. So TL is going to be able to respond with the Dragon right here because Cloud9 invested in mid. But considering, if you think about it, look how low this mid turret is already. It's probably a better use of their time to go get the Dragon right now because that thing's being chipped anyway. See, they have the total opportunity to go get this Dragon. This tower is really low. You can go take the Dragon. Sion just came back into lane, and you can make this play. They know the recall timings because they just backed off that turret. So there's plenty of time here. Instead, they try and push out this mid turret, but that mid turret could have been taken after Dragon quite easily also, considering that it's basically just hanging by a thread. So I don't really like their investment into the mid lane to take the turret because that means that since they know Lucian and Janna just went back and are going to be swapping to the bottom side of the map, that it's no longer a threat. Lemonation also a little bit late on his recall in order to contest this. So Team Liquid sort of gets this Dragon for free, and Cloud9, with this Corki, I think they could have just held off on that turret just a little more. Just a little bit longer. See, because now they're in a situation where the Dragon is taken, and they can. This Lucian is so strong, and Balls just has Merc Treads pretty much as a completed item, so he's not able to lane against this Lucian at all. So that's why you see them swapping over immediately. Basically, they're in a really bad situation at the moment because they don't want Draven against Piglet, who's super fed. But due to itemization from Balls, they also can't have the Hecarim versus him either. So it's pretty rough, actually, for them. They don't have a lot of good opportunities as to what they're going to do and where they're going to go. Either way, this Lucian is going to punish them really hard right now. They don't have any good answers. Yeah, look at that. You just can't even get close to Lucian right now. Piglet's really doing a number on him. Frozen Heart also already done for Quas, so this lane is getting really brutal for Balls also. And the team fight definitely going to go in favor of TL if there would be one right now, but TL's been doing a good job of snapping up objectives. So Dom, so what they want to do right now is try and take this turret or at least put some extra damage on it. So Dom's going to come in for a lane gank just in case Meteos comes down to this side, because this is Meteos' only real gank option right now. So this is a smart position for him to be in. If we look at middle and top lanes, there's not as good of an opportunity because of Lissandra's escapes. And I mean, the Scion's just so tanky and can flash and ult away, etc. So Meteos is still here, but Sneaky had to back, so this is useless, and now Meteos can only actually clear the wave. Man, Liquid did play out the early game pretty nicely here. Sneaky's going to have to go to the mid lane just to get some farm at the moment. So you can tell that TL just continually wants this Lucian to be in the lane and winning and just chipping away at the C9's towers just a little bit at a time, because he will have the ability to press in, especially now the Infinity Edge is done. So this is a huge, huge power differential between these two AD carries right now. So C9 it's just basically a battle of switching all your lanes around. C9 trying to get more farm and get sneaky back in this game, and then Liquid attempting to deny that, and being very happy with the matchup right now of Lissandra, especially now that the arm guard's completed into Corki, and then the Scion into the Hecarim, who doesn't really have very much damage yet. So you can see this is kind of disastrous for Cloud9. But this is one of the problems that you have with playing a very snowbally champion like Draven, is that once you win hard or you lose hard. That's kind of how it rolls.
I'm actually really surprised in the I thought for sure he'd be going Loot and Zeko Corki this game to differentiate their damage and increase their poke. But he is going for the AD carry.
So TL is continually abusing backs, and they have more wiggle room with the backs because there's so much more lane to push down in this mid right now, so they have a lot of breathing room, whereas TL basically has to deal, or C9 rather, has to deal with pressure on their turrets immediately. But there's just not much that can be done at this moment to stop Piglet, because he'll be able to clear out this wave and walk up to it with the Janna shield like that, and then there's no more pressure, and the dragon's about to come back up. And even though C9 does have a pretty strong ward advantage over the dragon at the moment, a lot of recalls coming in. They're just going to set up with 5 people and force Balls to teleport. Balls has home guard, so he could get a pretty good teleport engage, but he wants to push out this lane as far as possible before that actually happens.
Plus it makes you question, is he going to go Ghostblade Infinity Edge, or is he going Static Shift? Because Ghostblade seems like it would be less effective, since there's early armor stacking already. Flat penetration isn't going to be...
So against double AD too, the fact that Quas has a Frozen Heart right now is actually going to be very important. If there is a dragon contest going to come in. But I don't, even with the Scuttle Crab on the side of C9, this is still a very dangerous fight for them to take. And notice the positioning right here. I mean, there's no way that Sneaky gets into this. He doesn't have Morgana here to black shield him, and Phoenix is just zoning right, very, like, nicely right there. So, that was... And here comes Piglet to kill everybody. So if we look at this right here, there are a couple mistakes. First off, there was kind of a mistake coming in. So Phoenix has already swapped over to Lens. So he had the advantage of being able to lens this brush to make sure that there weren't any wards that were seeing him. But the problem is that he's assuming that Draven's going to walk into the brush, which is obviously pretty fucking dangerous. So instead, the problem is that Phoenix, if he had a ward, so that he could ward up on the ledge right here, that way he could cover any of Draven's possible entrances and probably just assassinate him before he could even get into this fight in the first place. So it would have been nice for them to have a ward, but it's not the end of the world. Also, this is really dangerous because Meteos' burst with the explosive cast and the smite is very high, as you can see. Dominate does get a bit lucky here. I mean, Meteos, that's a pretty good calculation of damage, right? 55 HP is pretty good for explosive cast and hitting it with the smite. But there's a second smite coming in from Dominate. At least I think that's what. Yeah. No, maybe Dominate smited first there actually.
Oh, he goes in for the steal.
Close.
Really hard to tell.
Oh,
But Sneaky does get an auto attack off onto Quas before he gets ulted because that ward wasn't there. But Sneaky did not expect Phoenix to be standing there, so in retrospect that flank looks pretty dumb. But then Piglet's able to come back up. I mean, there's no threat anymore, right? Hecarim ult is down, Gragas ult is down, all their ults are down. All their ults are down. So he can play this so aggressively because there's no more crowd control left from C9. So he can just walk straight into the middle of the fight with full HP and start autoing.
Get out of there.
Yeah, that was very strange for a number of reasons. Team Liquid was doing the right thing, positioning with their power spikes, going for
So that was a sneaky play by Phoenix, but I mean, you just have to be more careful on that when you're Draven. And at this point, it's really hard for them to come back. They lost a lot of the stacks from Draven's passive.
But everything goes wrong. They were the weaker team at the time. They did not have a home guard teleport to come back in, and they pay the price.
Yeah, that's why I really thought Cloud9 were going to opt for the trade there, trade that top turret. Yeah, but Vitos goes in for the steal, and
Yeah, this was really patient play by Phoenix. He sets this one up really well.
initiation now.
And then they just immediately
Locks up ball.
chain CC him with the Scion ultimate as well.
In for the Janna ultimate is what turned the tides.
And Phoenix,
When Quas does not go down, get demoralized. They can't.
yeah, maybe Phoenix actually should have put a Q over the entire team instead of chasing after and killing Morgana right there. It would have done more AoE. But with Piglet coming up, they got the cleanup anyway.
Huge reset for that fight.
So this is extraordinarily difficult to win with Cloud9's composition right now that Draven died.
Swing for Team Liquid. Plus,
And the fact that this Lucian is absolutely massive. And the Zhonya's Hourglass coming in. Just so much armor against the pure physical composition. I mean, you have the Zhonya's nearly complete Frozen Heart done. There's going to be another Frozen Heart coming in soon. So High's itemization becomes highly problematic right now.
Flash it and kill double it. But he was trying to flash it and kill a frozen heart Scion that time, so it did not deliver.
yeah.
one does.
So Trinity Force complete for this Hecarim, but it's pretty much just going to be too little too late at this stage.
Great picks taken by Team Liquid, thwarting what a Cloud9 could have done. This one! Hi, my name is Piglet, and you are dead. He dies so fast, he actually takes the aggro off of elimination. Now they can't save him after that one. He went a little too hard that time.
Yeah.
Establishing.
Are dead,
But
dies so fast,
that trade is worthwhile.
the aggro off of elimination.
Because you're already fed, and as long as you continue to cut through Adoration stacks, you're basically eliminating Cloud9's ability to get back into this game. And they're going to get a tower anyway.
Because he uses flash as well. So.
So they made use of their own teleport right there. You know, getting a kill onto Hecarim, that's... and getting shut down gold, that's pretty problematic. But I really think that is much better for Piglet.
Still a good push on the bottom lane and an immense amount of wards for Team Liquid on the bottom half of that map, moving up Cloud9. Because if Cloud9's also not on that wards, they know they're on the top side.
Yeah, and you know, they picked up the double train force right after that disastrous dragon fight.
Piglet took red right there.
The team, and we'll see if he corrects the play there. Still
I suppose the tower was so low in top lane it was
immense amount of
going to be difficult to save, but he did take a little bit of a detour alongside with Dominate to take it, but
wards, they know they're on the top side.
Yeah, and you know, they picked up the double train force
Mm.
right after.
may have been able to save it, but you couldn't make that call for sure. And the red buff is going to help this chase right here.
Plus, they may even still pick up the.
That was a really nice Scion ult. Hard to hit that one.
So much you can do.
And they also gave it to Piglet. That was
But they can't push any waves after that, so they have to move into the mid lane right now.
position to carry this game with their tank team and crowd control. Team Liquid is abusing their power spikes very well, and Cloud9 disregarded them, which they are paying.
Yeah, and then remember how much the first game of the series was talked up, how much it means for both of these guys.
Yeah,
Team Liquid,
that's so true.
being such an emotional
Okay, well, they
team,
just...
and riding
C9 is doing a good job of finding some turrets right now, but they're going to lose mid.
completely different story.
At least one, and probably two. Oh, they're not going to go for it. They can definitely pressure this more.
Early on, and we've seen how much
You can see Siki in the bottom side right now. They didn't know that Balls was going to be coming there to help out with the gank.
Phoenix out of here.
Oh,
And Sneaky can't follow that up at all because he's in too much danger of dying. Silent can't catch him. But if you're TL right here, there's no reason to stop pushing the turret at the moment. Corki is dead. You know where Draven is in the bottom side, and other than that, there's no more wave clear. So that's a pretty easy tier 2 if you want to keep pushing that one forward. Also, if you look at their wards, they have their flanks entirely warded. They knew exactly where Meteos was. They have it in the brush right there. So I say you go for this because Hecarim isn't going to stop you. He can't flank you with teleport. So there was an opportunity to get a tier 2 right there. And instead they just back off and kind of all just wander around bottom side for no reason. So Phoenix went aggressive there without enough information and just paid the price for it. Fortunately for TL, it didn't go over to Sneaky, which would have been pretty shit for them. So this is just going to be another dragon engagement right here. No TP actually from Quas, so it is a bit risky. Obviously TL would do better off with a pick coming out of this one. So at least Cloud9 has the teleport advantage and the pressure in the top side. But so many wards from TL already down. It's a good catch right here. Because if you look at the setup, I mean, it doesn't look like there are that many people there, and Meteos being able to come over the wall from the Baron pit, X-Special does get a little bit surprised by that right as he puts down a ward. Wow, it's a lot of damage. That's the danger of the home guard TP right there. But there wasn't any follow-up after that. It's really hard for them to do Baron right now without TP, and the fact that I think this is overly desperate in terms of their calling. I mean, Phoenix is here.
Oh, the claw goes in, but the claw's not taken by Phoenix. That means his initiation is kind of thwarted here. He stays on the back. Meteos in by himself. Oh no, you can still get attacked back there. Get out. They're still going. Baron's hitting people all the way outside. Ball takes the last shot. Quas again on the front line. A huge meat shield for the team is leading the charge. Phoenix once again wastes the claw. He's still now with the back line of the team, as it is just
So they bought enough time that they can do the Baron now. If you, I mean, when they can't take down the Lucian here either, it's really difficult. Quas reacts very nicely though to immediately walk over towards this Baron, and the waves are not in their favor either. As we can see, they're all pushing out towards C9. So they just don't have the control really necessary to do this, especially with how tanky Quas is. See, they're not even dealing damage to him anymore. So the fact that Quas is alive... I mean, it's true, though, that the longer this game goes on, and the tankier TL gets, the less of a chance they have due to being purely physical damage. And with 2 Frozen Hearts already done, if they don't... I suppose if they don't take the Baron now, then the Thornmails come in and they just lose. So... Phoenix is getting close to having his ult again, too. And a high is not in really a good situation to actually stop this. He doesn't have enough mana to poke with, so they are able just to chase them off. I don't think they had to commit that much. I think they could have just gone and turned a little bit, but with Dragon up... This is definitely the safer call, and as long as they continue to get dragons, they're in absolutely good position to close. Yeah, as Jat's saying, the gold in the game is incredibly close, but you have to consider the value of the items they're buying with gold. Team Liquid simply doesn't need as many items to become tanky and unkillable when there's only one damage type on the other team. So their itemization is incredibly more efficient.
It's a very late Ghostblade to come in, and there's not many people that have low enough armor for that Ghostblade to have a really big effect. If he does get into a situation where he's got some alone time with Piglet or Expector...
Yeah, Echo is definitely a million times better. That's a pretty big mistake. You know, if it had been an Echo Corki, if he had itemized like Phoenix did with Echo and Leandries, this game would definitely still be within grasp of Cloud9. They definitely would be able to pull this one out. I mean, all TL has to do is repeatedly force fights around Baron right now. They just need to ward up, make sure that they can force a face check, and then take the game that way. Because they will win pretty much any 5v5 at this stage. Their AD carry is up a core item. Yeah, they just have to push them in and top and start baiting the Baron. This is silly running around, not doing much, pushing a tiny, tiny bit, and then recalling. Way too few wards on their team. Dumbass pro players still wanting Doran's items when they don't need them. So the TL is just derping around right now, even though they have a huge, huge advantage. So sad. Look at that. Look how well. Look at Piglet taking that rocket too. By the way, what a boss. Watch him dash. And especially the Frost Bomb misses, but that gets knocked up. Now watch him step in front of this rocket to save X Special. It's pretty sick. This game, C9 did do a good job of controlling the mid game and getting some towers down and catching back up in gold. If that itemization had been different, we'd be looking at a really probably pretty different game, and one where TL isn't able just to roll over them so easily in these team fights.
Balls to actually get the ultimate off for healing. Try and get Phoenix out there.
Start of this fight, Team Liquid realized that they had Cloud9 corralled once, so they figured they get a 5.
I mean, Balls had a good initiation on a Phoenix right here, too. Coming back and then shoving him right back into the Corki. You can see the strength of C9's team fighting right here. And Phoenix would be dead right now if Corki had Echo, because Phoenix has armor at the moment, and there would be a rocket hitting him that probably would have done a lot. Also, just based on the positioning, the Echo would have hit a bunch of people right here. And he's being peeled for very nicely. You can see there's a tank line right here. The ultimate's going off. So they're trying to break the tether of the Soul Shackle. Oh, man. Just don't even do anything. Just doesn't do anything. So in spite of the fact that this Draven really didn't get rolling at all this game, C9 had a lot of opportunities to come back in this one, but they had to make multiple mistakes in order for that to happen. But when you watch a game like this from C9 or from TL, yeah, they made these mistakes, and you can say, well, it was a little bit interesting of them to pick Corki, but they know the risks associated with that pick, with Draven. They know the risks associated with that pick, and it's pretty easy to go back and look at it and say, oops, we made a mistake, and we need to just check our itemization. And in spite of that, in spite of the pretty solid early game by TL, C9 played extremely well from behind, and they know exiting this game too that they only have to make slight modifications, and then this game pretty much turns into a win for them because their team fighting better and their positioning is so good. So in that scenario, I wouldn't feel so bad if I was C9 after losing this game. And also, you have to have a lot of confidence in them still in this series, because those are very fixable adjustments on the fly. You can't fix the fact that you lane swap poorly or suck at team fighting match to match, but you can fix, hey, we made this little bit of an error, and that little error did make a tremendous difference in this game. So, I think if you're C9 at this point in the series, you're just shrugging your shoulders saying, hey, meh, sucks, made some mistakes, but these are mistakes that you are guaranteed not to make game to game. Look how little damage he's doing even to X Special with Foss. There's a rocket, does nothing. There's a... Oh wow, the damages. Meanwhile, Quas is just 1v4ing. But High had a really good angle right there. Again, it wasn't the fact... Cloud9 is playing this properly. It's just they've itemized improperly. There's no ward in this brush from TL, so he can literally just hide in here and continue to shoot them with rockets. He nearly killed Phoenix again anyway. So this game's just over. It's actually amazing they got that much damage done against double Randuin's double Frozen Heart Thornmail. Alright, this game's over. This game is over. Whatever. There's nothing that can really be done at this point. I mean, there's 5 dragons, you're dead.